What's up, YouTube? This is Plant-Based Booch, and I like eating plants just as much as I like smoking them. Today's heart-shaped herb, it's not super heart-shaped. I finally saw Wakanda Forever, and I have thoughts. I'm glad that I can finally be a part of the conversation. I usually take part in listening to and watching a lot of different review channels with movies and everything, and I love to hear what other people's takes are. I have been so busy that I haven't been able to actually get to the theater. So I finally saw it, and I was really looking forward to it, really anticipating it. I'm going to share what worked for me and what didn't work for me in that order. So like all of the good things that I appreciated about it first. First off, I think that they handled T'Challa's passing gracefully, and it was very classy. It was still tragic. We know what happened, but they didn't, they didn't try and do any CG and bring him back or anything. I think that was the better route to go. I like that they showed how everyone grieves in their own different way. We see that Shuri really lost herself in her work, and so did Queen Ramonda. She's struggling with trying to keep this nation together after the passing of its king and her son. And it's great to really see her be so strong and, try to keep it all together. But you see she has these moments of vulnerability. Angela Bassett is an absolute force in this film. And, oh, by the way, spoilers abound. This is a full-on spoiler review, so just be ready for that. If you haven't seen the film yet, you know that you're going to be spoiled. Going back to grief real quick, I like that Shuri has turned her back on faith. She doesn't believe in the ancestral plane. She, the only time she does pray is to when T'Challa is dying, and she wants to be able to save him by recreating the heart-shaped herb. She participates in a lot of risky behaviors as well. She leaves Okoye's care and goes on the motorcycle, and she kind of wants to be like first in the way of danger or whatever it may be. And that's definitely one way that people can express grief. It's very difficult when you're depressed over the loss of a loved one. You kind of may feel that things aren't real and that you can get away with a lot of stuff, or you just don't really care about the repercussions because all you want is to be removed from that very moment. And from those feelings. We'll go back to their characters in a bit. I think that the wardrobes were awesome. Again, the wardrobe design, the clothing, the costumes, all really looked great. The aesthetic was super fun. I think that the music that helped set the scenes also slapped as the same as it did last time. I like that Namor has this origin in which, it goes back to the roots of the New World and colonization and the conquistadors, enslaving the Mesoamerican ancestors. Now the cool thing about that for me was that, like, a lot of people, when they think about Columbus, they think about, oh, well, Columbus came in and slaughtered the Native Americans on the North American continent. Columbus, if he did step foot on the North American continent at all, beforehand, the place where he found land was on the Isle of Hispaniola. And that's actually present in the film. Haiti is on Hispaniola, with modern-day Dominican Republic. The first Indians that he came into contact with were actually members of the West Indies, and they were Taínos. That was the name of those native individuals. Originally, they can be traced back to the Arawak tribes, who actually left the North American continent and went to the Caribbean, colonizing those islands. Columbus comes with the conquistadors and the Dominican priests. We know that Namor. God, that is such an amazing way of saying that name. I never thought it would feel that good. Namor. Sin amor. Niño sin amor. In case you didn't know, I have Latino roots as well. My father's from the Dominican Republic. My mom is Italian. So that's where my roots come from. I'm kind of a day walker, or maybe a mutant, like Namor. But yeah, so I like that they gave Namor, that's usually what I call him, this different origin from the comics. And I'm not a huge Namor fan in the comic of Namor in the comics. I don't have anything against him. It's just I never really caught up with his character at all. So I'm fine with them completely changing this origin. And honestly, this origin is much more relevant to me. I do think a lot about colonization and Columbus and the Spaniards, and like when people, refer to Latino people as Spanish people, they're actually referring to the enslavers. Originally, they're saying that just because these people speak Spanish, that they are Spanish, but that's like saying anyone who speaks English is from England, that you're English because you speak English. It's not terribly offensive. It's just a little bit ignorant, and I'm not the biggest fan of it. So I'm glad that they finally put history of the Spaniards and why these indigenous people's offspring, why they are now speaking Spanish, why you have so many, people from the Caribbean and Central America, who and South America who are speaking Spanish. It's not because they are Spanish or because they are from Spain. It's because of the language they were forced to learn under their oppression historically. This history lesson unofficially brought to you by 23andMe, which I wouldn't be surprised if 23andMe was a sponsor of this film, because there's a lot of talk of the ancestors, and I'm going to visit my ancestors, and you're going to visit your ancestors, and we need to please the ancestors, and this is how our ancestors did it, and all this other stuff. And really quick, going back to my ancestors, I honestly, I only have like 1% indigenous Puerto Rican in me, so that's the Taíno in me. Columbus and the conquistadors, they came looking for rare metals like gold, and that is why they enslaved all of these indigenous people and tortured them and forced them to work to death. That's why. It was because of this metal. So now we have this modern take on it where Namor is like, never again. That's not happening to my people. We don't want anyone coming over to us because of our vibranium. We don't want them to find our vibranium. We don't want anyone to even know about us. And it's because he's seen firsthand what happens when these people come searching for your rare metals, what they're liable to do. And while we're on the subject, we notice that T'Challa Jr., Little Panther, T'Challa Jr. is, his Haitian name is Toussaint, referring to Toussaint Louverture, he was a general who's known for fighting in the Haitian Revolution against the French, who we also see are enemies to Wakanda in this film. And it's not just them. It's a lot of the world's developed nations who are now coming to rely on Wakanda, a nation they thought as a third world country, up until they found out that they had resources. I love that they made this a narrative in the story, that the U.S. government is an enemy here, and that when they see a resource of an indigenous land, they will go to whatever lengths they can. They talk about the destabilization of Wakanda, like that's their goal. I will talk about what didn't work for me, because I really wish they would have followed up on that. But while I'm still on the good things, I like that they showed that Wakanda is now having to defend itself because of its resources. And luckily, they are able to defend themselves. But also there are a lot of, South American and Middle Eastern countries who have been affected by the imperialism of several nations, the United States probably being the primary perpetrator, in my opinion. And it's interesting to see that they're willing to do the same to them. Now, on to what didn't work for me. Annika is a character who's added to the Dora Milaje, and she's really fun. She's new. She's into like the new technology that Shuri that Shuri is developing. Oh, that's actually something I liked as well. There's this beginning, this narrative in the beginning about kind of like faith and tradition versus technology and progress. But the way they followed that up, we'll discuss it in a second, and what I didn't like. I think that Annika's addition and for her to not really be utilized or that important to the plot, and then at the end, oh, she's a gay character. She's one of the other Dora Milaje who have been in several movies, and we haven't expounded on her at all, really. So, it seems like they're just checking a box to me. Why include that these characters are gay if they're not even going to be important characters? They're just going to be background characters. Why bother? Not something I have an issue with. I just thought it was interesting that the timing, they had a week. Namor attacks them and then says, all right, you have 1 week. It's been 1 week to get, I don't even remember what the thing was, but he said, you have 1 week. That's all you got. You got a week. And in this week, anyway, in this week, they give, They managed to produce 3 new Iron Man suits and a Black Panther suit, all in this 1 week. What they don't produce is, and by the way, I know that there's the Ironheart suit and then the Midnight Angels, but those operate and fly just like Stark Tech. So anyway, they produce all of this stuff. What they don't produce is a way to just like knock the masks off of the Atlanteans' faces. I know they're not called the Atlanteans. They're from Talakan, but I'm going to call them Atlanteans. But yeah, like just take a rock and knock that mask off and boom, the problem's done. You don't have to worry about them coming up to the surface. Just keep knocking the masks off. There's literally only one of them that can actually breathe air. They reproduced the heart-shaped herb in that week. Which, wow, like just super productive. I guess, Shuri's been obsessed over it. But yeah, I just thought they rushed a lot of stuff. And for such a long film, I feel that they didn't have to. I would just wish they would have spent more time on certain characters. I wish we would have gotten more out of Riri. It seemed like she was just a cameo at best. I really would have loved, some more of her history. I know that she's 19, she's at MIT, she's a genius, but she's hustling with that intellect. She's creative in her own right. She's like, fixing up cars and building like Stark Tech style suits all on her own and everything. And we do find that she gets smarter along the way because she's challenging herself, accidentally locking herself out of her computer and then having to build a more powerful computer to get into that computer. Like, I think all that's cool, but I remember, at the beginning of Iron Man, they had this quick exposition about Tony Stark and all of the achievements he had from when he was a kid to when he was an adult and why he's this prodigy. I would have liked something similar for Riri, and I would have liked for her to have like solved a problem instead of creating one. Let's see if there's a way that she can help Shuri recreate the heart-shaped herb. Like, why is she in Wakanda otherwise? So for me, by the end of this movie, it's impossible to get behind any of those characters. Ramonda, I loved. I actually thought that she was already the Black Panther by the time the movie began. Angela Bassett was looking just jacked, completely ripped, and putting on. I can't stress enough how amazing of a performance. Oh, like even hearing a line from the amazing trailer that they had, hearing her say it again was even more effective because we knew the context of it. But after Queen Ramonda dies, it's so difficult. It really takes a turn because Namor, who we could kind of get behind and empathize with, he's now killed the Queen of Wakanda. He's killed T'Challa and Shuri's mom. Like, that's messed up. Oh, and speaking of which, throw this back on the things I did like, whatever. I like the idea that in Civil War, King T'Chaka died by explosion. He died from fire, and that in Wakanda Forever, his wife, dies by water. But yeah, I think they built up Queen Ramonda as this really amazing figure, and then they did, had the whole justified villain who goes just a little too far thing that they did with Killmonger and Carly Morgenthau. I came into this movie very excited for Namor, honestly. They had a Latino lead. I was just really, really into that. You know, representation does matter, and, you know, it was a good way for me to be like, all right, well, that's one reason to like Namor, but, you know, and then also, like I said, his roots back to the colonization of, of Mesoamerica. But then he kills Queen Ramonda. He kills a bunch of Wakandans. It's just very difficult for us to get behind him. Now we're supposed to be empathizing with Shuri here and her loss. But she, which I think is cool, she blends tradition and technology when she gets Namor's mom's bracelet. You know, she uses their history and combines it with with her technology and manages to recreate the herb. I thought that was great. I thought it was great that Shuri decides to become the Black Panther. But I don't think it was awesome that she decided to go to war. Like, there were people who counseled her against it, and they still went along with it. You know, if you do this, our people will be at war. And, you know, M'Baku, who was supposed to take on this brotherly role to her, completely sidelined, and you know, she didn't really consider him that much. Or, you know, she considered what he could do for her, but not considering his opinion. But we see that they're trying to take T'Challa's origin and kind of copy and paste it onto hers in a way that, all right, let's see if we meet these same story beats and develop her as a character and have her learn the same lessons T'Challa did. But, you know, at the end of it, he learned that people, you know, wise leaders build bridges, not walls. And she just right away chooses war. Shuri takes her people to the sea to attack the Atlanteans, to the sea, where they're vulnerable, and decides to spring this trap on the Atlanteans. And her people end up actually getting killed. They end up dying up until the Midnight Angels are released. But even then, it seems like she willingly sacrificed her people. And she ends up having this choice between getting her vengeance against Namor, who, you know, she's microwaving at the time, or going to save her people. And I thought that would be the moment where she's like, oh, you know what? I have to save my people. That's what's most important. It's not about, you know, getting vengeance. It's about, you know, being a leader. And this is what a leader does. But no, she knows that her people are getting killed, and she's like, oh well, good luck with that. The Aqua Melage have it. And great that she trusts these people, but I feel like that was her moment to step up, and she didn't. She went with the vengeance. In doing so, I just don't feel like she was triumphant like they wanted her to be. I feel like she gets stabbed by this spear. After pulling herself off of it, which is, you know, pretty amazing, you know, the suit heals up. And so she kind of uses the suit as a shield or as a Band-Aid. But in T'Challa's fight in the last movie, he used his, he didn't care about the suit. He actually had his suit destabilized. That way he could beat Killmonger. So he didn't really care about using it as a shield. He cared about, he trusted himself. And I think that I just would have liked something similar from Shuri in that regard. Not her relying on the suit to save her life. Well enough to do this backflip over Namor. I feel like I would have limped around him, past him, and be like, hey, stop there. Or if he was going to keep walking forward, why not just activate the thing from behind him? Activate your Wakanda Forever fire jets behind him. Which I also feel like, I get that she's the technology Black Panther, but it wasn't a thing she invented. It's just something that happened to be there. And, it seemed kind of underhanded. Let's see her really triumph over this guy and show that she can be physically and morally superior in some way. Her Martha moment, which, the Batman v Superman moment, it seemed kind of unearned. It just came out of nowhere. I feel like if she got up to that point and knows that Namor killed her mom, go for it. What's going to stop you at this point? But no, for some reason, she's just let me think about everything. And no, I feel like she's so smart that she would have considered that before. That's all. And I know that, she may be ravaged with grief and doing, impulsive things, but it's just difficult to get behind someone who throws their people at into war so willingly. That's what that's in compared to another water movie. In Aquaman, that's that's what we didn't like. Sea Master, Ocean Master, Orm, Aquaman's brother. We didn't like him for that. Real quick, Okoye. I feel like they neutered her character. Okoye is a very strong and resilient individual. I feel like her physical abilities were never in question. And she's just as cunning as she is deadly. I feel like she would figure out how to just knock this, the Atuma's mask off of his face at one point or another. I feel like at the end, maybe if the Midnight Angel armor were used to like go into the water, that she could have used it for that, and then at the end, like chosen to leave the armor and use her own strength to beat him. I would have liked that. We see that their initial fight on the bridge, she's not really able to stand up to him, and it's difficult. It's intimidating. It's great she doesn't give up, but I don't know. I feel like she's stronger than that, and that they didn't need to have Shuri taken to Talokan under those circumstances. There could have been another way that she'd lost that fight. And not so like definitively losing in a physical contest to this guy. And then at the end, when she sends him to his ancestors, which I think is just kicking him into the water. I don't know. She's still in the armor. She keeps the armor all the way to the end when she takes Everett Ross, saves him. So I don't know. I thought she deserved better as well. I think that, with the introduction of Val into this, they had a chance to see at least one or a few of the Thunderbolts. Maybe they would be the ones who are destabilizing Wakanda while, maybe they set up the whole war between Wakanda and Talokan, and in the meantime, they're trying to plunder Wakanda while everyone is at war. Like, I think that would have been a great way to go about it. And then the way we find peace in the end is... oh, I was so blind by vengeance that I didn't even see that, we were being pitted against each other. I mean, that's also kind of Batman v Superman-esque, but hey, they went with the Martha moment anyway. Oh, we both have moms. Whatever. Maybe like Namor was framed for the assassination of Queen Ramonda, but it was actually the CIA or something like that. I mean, I guess they don't want to be so definitive in making the CIA the bad guy. I feel like Val and the Thunderbolts are already being set up to be the anti-heroes or something. Or maybe, they set up the conflict between Wakanda and Talokan, and it led to Namor killing Queen Ramonda. I feel that Killmonger was a much stronger villain just because, obviously, an amazing performance by Michael B. Jordan, but also his story was told by others about him. It wasn't him saying every single aspect of his people's lineage, and then saying, and then I was born, and then my ears were pointy, and all this other stuff. Like, I would have liked other people to have kind of speak the myth of Namor, and then our minds fill in the rest of how else, like, how deadly this guy is, and his hate for the surface world, and, they could have been the ones who named him Namor, Sinamor, kept in his head. Like, I don't know why he would choose the language of his oppressors to be his name. I thought it was messed up that there were so many secrets that were kept and then just thrown in at the end. Like, oh yeah, your mother who died, conveniently, yes, she did know about her grandson and still chose to give me flack for not being at the funeral or having my son in Wakanda. T'Challa also wasn't an absent father. He came around and knew his kid and everything in between all the adventures and the snapping from Thanos. It just seemed like a lot of convenient stuff. And all right, like, don't worry, everybody. If you don't like this Black Panther, there's another one coming. Give Shuri a chance. Overall, I think it was definitely a good Marvel movie. I just, with the team behind it and the talent that are in it, I just thought it would be different. And we'll see how I feel upon subsequent watchings. I'm definitely going to watch it a couple more times because it definitely had some fun stuff in it and some awesome moments. Maybe when I'm not thinking about the notes I'm taking, I can really just enjoy the film for what it is. But yeah, this has been my review on Wakanda Forever. What worked for me, what didn't work for me. How did you feel about Wakanda Forever? Am I being a hater? Am I being reasonable? I feel like I am. Did you feel similar? Let me know in the comments below. Let's talk about this, because I can't be the only one. I can't be. I'll see you next time.